Hi everyone! My name is Catherine and welcome back to my channel. On this channel you'll find videos all about visual impairments and blindness and living with that kind of disability, along with videos about martial arts and other fun hobbies like drawing, painting, journaling, things that I really don't see people who are blind talking about or showing themselves doing. Or really exploring. Not that there aren't blind people doing those things, but I don't see anyone really sharing their experiences on the internet. So I thought I would share just in case it helps someone else like me who might be looking for someone with a similar experience doing similar things, because sometimes it helps to just not to feel alone or to at least know that, you know, maybe someone might have some ideas for how to adapt in a certain situation. So that's me in a quick little nutshell. It's my channel, and I'm glad you're here. Today, I'm doing a video that quite honestly scares me. It feels very personal. It feels a little scary to put out there. But I wanted to share because I think it's an important thing to talk about, and that is how to deal with the feeling of being disabled. And if you have lived with a disability for any length of time, you probably know the feeling I'm talking about. It's not a pleasant feeling. It's a feeling that leaves you wondering why you're there. Or if you're good enough, or what's wrong? What's wrong with you? And it's just not a fun feeling, and it's a feeling that it's taken me a very long time to really identify and actually figure out and pinpoint that is what I'm actually feeling. And so I wanted to unpack that a little bit today. Before I get started, I just want to clarify a few things. Firstly, I'm not talking about feelings that come with being newly disabled or dealing with a disability that is very new to you, or to me, I should say, because that's not my experience. I have been legally blind since I was born. My eyesight has not changed over the time since I was born. My eyesight is stable. My eyes age just like anyone else's, so it's not to say that they can't get worse as I get older, but it won't be because of the particular eye condition that I have. It's a very stable condition. So my eyesight is my eyesight. And so this discussion for me is coming from a place of having lived with the eyesight that I have, as opposed to feeling, newly disabled where one might have just lost their eyesight. This has been a very stable situation. So I just want to clarify that I'm talking about long term, not brand new. So if you're looking for advice or help from someone who is newly disabled, this may not be the most helpful video for you. Number two, I am very specifically talking about my own experience. I am one person. I have the experience of one person. My eyesight is very different from anyone else's eyesight, whether they are fully sighted or blind or somewhere in between. So I just want to also make that very clear. I am not speaking for everyone who is blind. I am speaking for myself and my own experience and how I personally deal with these feelings. So please, if your experience doesn't match mine, if I'm talking about things that you either don't understand because you don't feel that way or you feel very differently, please just know that I'm speaking from my own experience, and if you feel differently, then I would love to hear about it in the comments, but please be kind. Again, I'm not trying to speak for the entire community. I am simply speaking for one person, and that is myself, in hopes that it could possibly help others. And number 3, and I think perhaps most importantly, I am not a mental health professional. And if you are dealing with thoughts, feelings, emotions that are causing great distress, if you're having any thoughts of harming yourself, please reach out for help from an actual mental health professional. That is not the scope of this video, this channel, at all. I will link some resources in the description box if you feel you need those. But please, 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 if you need professional help, please get it. No, there is no shame in that. It's wonderful that we have so many resources available these days to get help when we need it. And so please just know that I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not trying to be. Again, this is simply my experience, and I'm sharing my thoughts, feelings, and experience in the hopes that it could help someone else. So if you need help, if you need a medical or a mental health professional, and you don't know where to find one, please check out the links in the description. Otherwise, let's dive in. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this feeling of being disabled is really not a fun feeling. It can be that feeling where you're in a group of people and you just feel as though you're sitting on the outskirts, not really a part of anything, perhaps because everyone else is figuring things out faster than you, and you know, the group effort to make a project happen, an event happen, feels like it's kind of happening without you, or that you're an afterthought. Perhaps it feels as though you can't really participate fully or contribute fully. I know for me, that's where a lot of my insecurities come, is feeling as though I'm not contributing enough, because by the time I figure out what needs to be done, it's already been done, or someone is in the midst of doing it, and when I ask if they need help, they don't need help. And so it's really an awkward feeling. It can also feel as though perhaps like everyone else just has their life together and you don't. Again, that's a feeling that I know very well. And so how do we deal with this? What do we even do? Because this can be a feeling that really can stop you in your tracks and, you know, possibly even prevent you from enjoying spending time with other people, enjoying these types of events or activities. The first thing I would say, and the first thing that I find very helpful, is to analyze your own feelings. Really figure out, what is it that I'm feeling? Because when you do that, it can help to know, am I feeling lost? Am I feeling broken? Am I feeling separate or other because I'm not feeling useful? Which is something that I feel a lot, especially at like potluck suppers and things like that. You know, I like to feel useful. I want to help, and I feel like very often I'm just bothering the people who are, you know, in quotes here, in charge, or who are leading the teams, because I'm constantly having to ask, what can I do? What can I do? And then when they give me something to do, I often feel as though I'm very slow. And so for me, that feeling of not contributing is a big part of what can make me feel disabled. It can make me feel very broken and just very lost. And so is that what the problem is? Is that feeling coming from not feeling as though you can connect to other people who are at the event? or other people in your life? And if that's the case, why is that? Is it a social situation where, if you're blind and you're not really understanding body language, or you may not even know who is there, that's very different from feeling as though you can't really talk to other people because they don't understand what you're going through, or you're feeling as though you don't want to say the wrong thing, or just feeling very socially awkward because of a lack of understanding of body language, which again, I totally understand that social awkwardness is, it can be a killer. But there are many reasons why you might be feeling disabled, why you might be feeling lost or broken or separate or other than. And figuring out why that is very helpful, because that can help lead you to step 2 or 3, which will then help you to deal with that feeling. Once you've analyzed why you're feeling uncomfortable, why you're feeling disabled, the next thing I would suggest is to lean into that discomfort. And that's not always going to help. That's not always going to be a healthy or good response. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it can really, I think, be important to say, you know what? I'm going to this potluck anyway. I'm going to this conference anyway. I'm going to learn this martial art anyway. It can be a good way to help yourself to get over that feeling. It can be a good way to help you remember that you have friends and community, and that it's really important to spend time with people. It's really important to just enjoy time with your friends, with your family, with fellow students. It's an important thing, and sometimes just leaning into that discomfort can, I'm not going to say make it go away. I've felt this discomfort at various events for years and years, but it can help to know that there's life outside of that feeling. And it can help to remember that it's still important to push yourself to grow, even if there are areas in which you'll never really grow anymore because the physical limitations of your disability prevent growth in a particular area. For me, again, that is primarily centered around like potluck dinners at my church or other sort of events of that sort. No one has ever said anything to me about this. This is entirely my feeling. But as I've mentioned, I often feel quite useless, and I don't like to feel useless. I am a helper. I like to help. I like to feel useful. And so for me, having to constantly be asking, what can I do? What do you need me to do? And then when given that task, to then perform it very slowly when it comes to, let's say, cleaning up after a potluck or helping to set up before a social gathering, to constantly have to ask, what can I do? Okay, I finished. Now what can I do? What do you need me to do? I end up feeling like I'm very much in the way because the people who are sort of leading the event and coordinating everyone really have better things to do with their time than to constantly be telling me what needs doing next and where things are. But I don't know. And there's really nothing I can do about that. And I enjoy spending time with these people. Again, no one has ever said anything or ever done anything to make me feel as though I don't belong there. But I feel as though I don't belong there because I know that everyone else, all the adults in the room, are able to just do what needs doing. Or if they do ask, they can pick up on what's happening and find the plates and find the silverware and find, all the things that need to be put in their respective places a lot faster than I can, and with a lot less direction than I can. And so I end up feeling rather disabled, and it's a very uncomfortable situation. I'll often also feel as though I'm really just not pulling my weight at these types of events, and it's not comfortable. But I think it's very important to lean into that discomfort and to go anyway, and to show up anyway, and to ask how I can help anyway. Because not going and not doing what I can do to help is not being true to myself, it's not being true to who I am, and it's not helping the situation at all. Training capoeira for the past 8 years has also been a way for me to learn to lean into some of that discomfort. I never know what's going on when I go to events, whether they're at my home academy or they're at one of our sister schools. I don't have a clue what's going on, ever. And I've been there for 8 years. I should have a better idea of what's happening, right? No, because I can't see what's going on. And capoeira as a martial art is a very visual art form. It's a very visual, very body language driven thing. And I just can't take all of that in. And so I end up having to ask a lot, or I end up just being led a lot. When we have rodas at events, the circle where we all play the game, I end up being guided by teachers all the time. I just don't know when to step up and say, hey, I want to play too. I just don't know, and I can't make eye contact with people, and it's very uncomfortable, especially, again, 8 years in. You would think I should have a better idea of what's going on, but I really don't, and I can't. It's just, there's too much happening at once, and there's too much visually to take in that I just can't take in. And again, it's a very uncomfortable feeling, and it can leave me feeling very broken. It can leave me feeling like I'm just in the way. And again, no one has ever said anything. It is not anything to do with how anyone treats me in those situations, because I think, except for my home church family, the people I've met in capoeira, and the people I've met especially here in Maine, in the capoeira groups here in particular, are just the kindest, gentlest, warmest people, and truly wonderful people, wonderful friends. And so it has nothing to do with the way anyone treats me in these kinds of situations, and everything to do with me knowing that I need more help than anyone else, and that I always need more help than anyone else, and just feeling broken. Honestly, just feeling like there's something wrong with me. As I've said before, there is something wrong with me. My eyes don't work. But it's not a comfortable feeling to be put in situations over and over and over again with people whose eyes do work. And knowing that there are parts of these interactions that are never going to improve, that I'm never going to really get better at because I just physically can't do it. And so for these kinds of things, I think it's honestly important to just lean into it and to go anyway. Do it anyway. Go to these events anyway. Play these games anyway. Participate in helping to set up and run a potluck anyway. for me, these are things that are very important to do because they remind me that I'm still a person. Regardless of my disability, I am still a person. I still have skills. I still have things to contribute. And it's still good to spend time with friends and to just get that good energy from everyone and to give good energy in return. It's an important thing. So that's point number 2. If the feelings, once you've figured out what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, if those feelings aren't really dragging you down, just lean into it. Go anyway, figure it out, ask for help when you need it. And I don't think the discomfort ever really goes away, but I think it gets better. The third thing I would say about feeling disabled, and I touched on this before, is to ask for help. More often than not, people want to help you. And sometimes all it takes is just saying, hey, I'm not sure what needs to be done. How can I help? And if they start pointing and you can't see where they're pointing, remind them. Remind them, hey, I don't know where you're pointing. I only have a 5-degree field of vision here. Can you tell me? Am I going left or right? Or just ask. Lean over maybe to your neighbor and say, hey, yeah, what just happened? Why is everyone laughing? I didn't see it. Oh, everyone just gasped. Hey, what happened? And just ask for help. Whether that's in the moment or afterwards, going up to a friend and saying, hey, I noticed that, these 2 students, when they were playing, everyone gasped and something happened and I don't really know what happened. Can you explain it to me? More than likely, someone's going to explain it if you ask. More than likely, someone will direct you in a way that you can understand if you explain the situation and ask. Or if there's someone who knows you, if you remind them. Something I run into a lot is people forget that I need as much help as I do. And so they'll start going really fast or, pointing in different directions or, oh, the cups are over there. And they'll just forget that I don't know where there is because I didn't see them point. And so simply reminding them of that and saying, oh, wait a second, where is there? I don't know, I didn't see, I can't see. And just saying that is enough to, make them remember that, all right, use words, not gestures. And very often, as I said before, that just immediately resolves the situation. Finally, I think this is the biggest point to really dealing with that feeling of being disabled. Sometimes you need to just push through it, but sometimes there's that feeling that just knocks you flat on your back and really knocks the wind out of you and really just tears you down. And it's a situation that cannot be fixed by asking for help. No amount of leaning into the discomfort of the situation is going to make you feel any better about yourself. In fact, it may even make you feel worse. And when that happens, the fourth and final point for this video, for me, is it's really important to draw your boundaries and recognize when there's a feeling of inadequacy that is destructive rather than something to push through. Something that my capoeira teacher says a lot, and I think this applies here too. He always tells us when we're training, when we're pushing, when we're pushing our bodies and, trying to learn these new movements, these new ways of moving, these new things that our bodies just don't necessarily know how to do right away. He always says, push yourself, but don't break yourself. You know, it's important to push through discomfort, but it's really important to recognize the difference between discomfort, which is a sign of growth, and pain, which is a sign of breakage. It's really important to know the difference there physically, and I would argue it's also very important to know the difference there emotionally, and just within yourself. When you're getting that feeling of disability, when you're getting that feeling of brokenness and otherness, and it's something that's really tearing you down and really making you question your own self-worth, your inherent worthiness as a human, that is when you need to draw a boundary and say, I cannot do this. And it doesn't have to mean forever. It might. It very well might be something that you just aren't going to ever come back to. But it doesn't have to. It could just mean right now, I cannot handle this. And I need to put it aside and not deal with it right now. And that's okay. That feeling is something that's come up for me very recently in my capoeira journey. And it's something that, because again, the art is very body language driven, it's a very visual art form, even though it's also very physical and very movement driven. A lot of those movements are based off of either communicating through body language or interpreting someone else's body language. And so it's something that I've really struggled with as I've gotten more advanced, and the farther along I go, it's something that comes up more and more. And it's something that I'm having to work through in terms of just how far do I push this. And I mean, there have been times where I have just been sobbing because I just don't get it. I don't get it, and it makes me feel as though I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be the level that I am. I certainly shouldn't advance. And just this one aspect, really, for a couple of years now, has really thrown me for a loop. And I just haven't really quite been able to shake it. And more recently, just because of the level that I am and the level that I'm working towards, my teacher and I have been talking more about body language and how do you use it and how do you interpret it. And it's just not something that I'm finding useful right now, because all I'm finding that it's doing is making me more stressed out, making me feel even more as though I'm not good at this art form, even more that I shouldn't be here, I shouldn't be working towards the teacher level, I shouldn't be doing these things. And I finally realized, and it took a really long time for me to actually realize this, I finally realized that I'm trying to shove myself into a round hole, right? I'm trying to shove myself into a round hole when I am a square peg. And I'm trying to conform and make my game, my expression of the art form, into something that it may never be. And until I figure out what my expression is, independent of having to use body language to communicate, having to take this incredibly abstract, incredibly difficult concept for me to grasp, to even understand, let alone use, until I find my own expression independently of that form of expression, which is difficult because it's the form of expression that everybody uses, because, I'm the only blind person, the only blind capoeirista I know. Until I can do that, though, I really need to set that particular aspect of the art form aside. And once I realized that, and once I made the conscious decision to say, this is where I draw the line, because I can't do this right now, it suddenly made everything else click. And while I'm still working on finding my own personal expression, it's made me feel a lot less stressed, and it's made me feel a lot less broken in the art form. It's made that feeling of disability, while yes, still there because of the other things I've talked about earlier in this video, it's made me feel less inherently broken, less irrevocably broken, and it's made me actually feel good about the direction I'm going again. And so sometimes it's really important to just figure out, again, why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And if that feeling is something that is causing you to feel broken to the point that you don't think you can recover, feel disabled to the point that it's tearing you down mentally and emotionally and just knocking you flat and really making you feel like you don't belong, and not just like, you know, temporarily in the moment, but really making you feel like you just should give up entirely, that's a good place to draw a boundary and say, no, I'm not going there. I can't do this. And I'm going to take myself out of this situation. And whether that means there's a certain aspect of an activity or a hobby that you just don't do, or it means that there's a particular activity or hobby or gathering that you avoid entirely, then so be it. You know, your mental health is worth more than that. As I said, this is how I personally deal with this feeling of disability. This is how I personally feel. It's how I deal with feeling disabled, how I deal with feeling broken and like I don't belong, or feeling like a child still. These are my ways of dealing with it. And so if you have different ways or different ideas, I would love to hear about them in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a like. Please just hit that thumbs up button. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought. If you have a disability and you know this feeling of disabledness, I would love to hear how you deal with it and how you sort of work with it or around it. Yeah, I would love to start this conversation and see more discussion of these feelings. I think this is a feeling that can often seem quite shameful. It feels like something that, you know, people really don't want to talk about, but I think it's really important that we do and that we bring it out and just say, you know what, sometimes I don't feel like I belong. And I think this is something that even able-bodied people feel, but I feel like sometimes when you have a disability, it can feel almost worse to admit this. And it can almost feel as though when you talk to people who don't experience that same disability, that it can almost feel as though you're whining. And you know what? We're not whining. It's just how we feel sometimes because we're humans. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell if you would like to be notified whenever I post a new video. I try to post every single Sunday. Again, just come on back if you are interested in talking about blindness and disability, and also exploring fun hobbies like martial arts and painting and drawing and calligraphy and just all kinds of fun things. I have lots of fun video ideas. I have some videos that are in the works, so come on back and let's explore. Let's do things. All right, everyone, have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Bye bye all.